So this video is going to be a bit more on the technical aspects as to how this connects to the car. So this was one of the first vehicles ever connected up, and it was the first vehicle ever, when I should say vehicle, I mean Hyundai Kia Genesis, that was running on Openpilot. There was no known source for getting connectors, and the Giraffe didn't exist. So this was the original way that I had it wired up, and I haven't bothered changing it. So if we fold down this, you'll see that I've just got all the wires bundled up there. So what we have is the stock camera is there, plugged in there, and the only reason for the Captain tape is to keep it all together, bundled nice and clean. Now coming out of that, you'll see bits of heat shrink. So what we have is the original wiring is cut, what you see is the original wiring is cut, heat shrinked onto pin headers. And I've done that with a whole lot of them. The ones that were to be T-pieced off, I cut the wire and I joined it together and T-pieced it. And they all go to pin headers such as that. That's actually cut into the factory loom. So the factory loom is still there. Gee, it's hard to see because of the sunlight. The factory loom's still there. All we've done is just cut directly into that factory loom and then added those fly wires onto it. Now that part of the factory loom goes just from that camera and into the roof space, and costs about 200 Australian if you're to replace it. And obviously I'm going to keep this car for about 4 years, so it's not really an issue. Now, as for that bundle of wire, the problem is that the GPS, which is mounted right there, has got a very long wire on it, and shortening them is not such a good idea. So I've got it bundled up there. Now you'll see that I've got no plastic casing around the Panda. It turns out this thing runs really hot, and with the casing on, it's well above the spec that it should be, even when it's out of the sun like it is in this one. Now we've got enough movement on the mirror. The mirror basically keeps that sitting up tight on the roof. It's something that I haven't ever bothered cleaning up. I will probably print a whole new case to sit over top of all of that one day, and hardwire this in, solder it in, get rid of those connectors altogether and make it a permanent part of the vehicle. But that's pending time, and pending time means I'll probably do it over the Christmas break. Now, locations that I've had Eon mounted has been there, and also just up there. Now up here actually worked perfectly. The only issue was that every time we'll zoom out a bit, every time I flipped this over, it'd hit it, and the problem was that hitting it isn't the problem, but it would move it ever so slightly, and that ever so slightly would cause the calibration to be wrong, and it wouldn't steer quite correct on the road. Now, in regards to the technical side, the amount of wires that I've got there pretty much answer how it works. We have power, and we have the camera and the vehicle's bus. We do not worry about radar, we do not use radar. The radar is not a part of this system. What we do is we use the stock system. So when you see this start, you'll see that we got no errors. Eon's not running, it's dead flat. It's going to take a while for it to start, and you see it's booting now. The reason we got no errors is that code that was done by James T inside the Panda is forwarding the stock camera, and it's forwarding it on all the time, which means that all this idea of switches and everything that the other ports have to have, we don't need. So we forward the messages on in code inside the Panda. So when this finishes booting, what we'll see is a bunch of errors appear in the dash, and that's when the Panda, that's when the Panda stops forwarding, which we'll see in a moment. So there's our errors. You can see that this has started up, and now our errors are gone and we're operating. So that was just that short little period where it was swapping over from forwarding on the Panda to the message being generated by the Eon. So I've been asked about how can this work with no radar being involved. Now obviously you can see that I got relative distance and relative speed as if it's from the radar. That's not from the radar, that's just from vision. The cruise control is 100% the stock system and has nothing at all to do with Openpilot. We have the ability in Openpilot to mimic all these buttons, which is basically the set cruise, increase, decrease the speed, and so on. And then we can also read the set speed. So up in the top corner, which says max NA, that's what the cruise control is actually set at. So we can see that, which means Openpilot's got the ability to set the cruise control anywhere from 30 kilometers per hour up to 200 kilometers per hour. That's the range that the stock system allows us to do. And Openpilot can obviously set anywhere in that. That's not done using radar though. That's done using the buttons on the steering wheel and reading what the cluster reports the set speed to be.